Hey, welcome everybody to La Jolla Christian Fellowship Podcast. I'm Pastor Adam Stadtmiller, and I'm excited to be here with some friends to talk about what's love got to do with it. It's a conversation on dating, Christian dating in the modern world. And with that, I have a co-host as well. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name's India Kern, and I'm a certified divorce coach and a life coach. So I help people who are struggling through divorce and dating issues.
Okay.
So.
Right on. Well, I have some friends with me, and they're going to introduce themselves, but I did ask permission to ask what their age is and what their dating or marital status is. We're going to start with me. My name's Adam Stadtmiller. As I said, I'm 53 years old, and I've been married 25 years.
My name's Eden Bryant. I'm 28, and I've been married just over 5.
Hi, my name is Asha. I'm 39 years old, and I am married but currently going through a separation.
My name is Kimberly Caliberg. I am 35 years old, and I'm currently dating.
My name is Rebecca Mueller. I'm 27, and I'm single.
Oh, let's go.
Thank you.
There you go. India, how about you?
Kern here, and I am 51, and I am married.
Right on. Very, very cool. So one of the things I just wanted to start with as I was preparing for this is that dating is like, I'm a dinosaur when it comes to dating. The last time I asked somebody out on a date, but I asked my wife out on a regular date almost every week, a couple times a week, and then let's go out, let's have dinner, we're going to go out tomorrow night as a matter of fact, that the last time I actually officially asked somebody out for the first time was in 1996. So Match.com, I found out, started in 1995. I didn't know that Match.com was even a thing. I didn't think it started till the 2000s. So like online dating was not a thing. Although there was a thing where you could go into like the Reader and there'd be like kind of like online dating, but you could like call somebody and the Reader is like a local paper and whatever. So things have totally changed. And I am so glad I'm not part of that world right now. It's so crazy, and when I was reading about the statistics and I see everything that's happening out there, it's kind of nuts. So with that said, let me just say that back in my day, there was this kind of a trope. There was two kinds of guys. There was guys that kind of had it together and could ask girls out and get dates, and then there was dudes who couldn't. And there was not much room, at least in the trope, for anywhere kind of in between that. You either had game or you didn't. And there was, a lot of dating around me, but dating was very different. And if you heard that somebody was dating, like you didn't put it up on your profile, like I'm with this person, kind of went through the grapevine. When was cell phones, you know what I mean? 94 or something like that. Like I had a cell phone in my car in 89. I thought it was so cool. It was like a big giant cell
Magnum.
phone. Yeah, it was like Magnum PI, right? So the thing we're talking about is dating, and we're especially within the church. This is for church people or for people that are interested in what do women who try to follow Jesus think about dating. And so I guess the first question that I want to know from you, because we'll chime in, is this: what is the role, if any, of a man in dating today? And by the way, it was not hard to find women. Every woman I asked was like, yeah, we're in.
Yeah, no, I was excited. I would say to pursue and to do it well. Intentionally.
What does that mean, do it well? Because as I was reading on about like Tinder statistics, the overpursuit is a little bit like, that's kind of a thing too. So what do you mean doing it well, pursuing well?
I would say authentically pursuing someone, being yourself, being transparent about it, and I think prayer is important too. If you're in a community full of believers, just like waiting for an opportunity maybe, or like thinking about it a lot more before you act.
So we're talking about the role of a man. So you're talking about like a man needs to pray through it, not just like
it's
target-rich environment. I'm just going to ask her out because whatever reason you think that they should think through it.
Yeah.
They should be selective.
I think building friendship is important first, and I typically have dated guys who I've been friends with first. It's like rare form if I'm just gonna go in blind.
Okay.
But feeling it out, like, you know, who is this person, observing their character, simple things, I think, first, and then making the move when you feel it's time.
So, and you're talking about the man, for the guy.
I'm talking about the man, yeah.
Okay, so the role is pursuit. What,
Yeah.
okay, let's just, I did put keywords down. So pursuit
Yeah.
is a key role. Are we kind of down with that? You all in agreement with that? Let's just stay right there.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say I would 100% agree everything that she was saying. I think sometimes what I've seen, especially in the church, is that it can be taken too seriously or thought about too much about like pursuing. It's like, you don't need to know if you're going to marry me to ask me on a first date, you know, like think about who I am, think about the things you're looking for in a wife, and just like take me to dinner. That's fine, you know.
You think guys think that?
Do I think they think?
You think
that?
most guys are tripped up because they're like, I'm not sure I can marry this woman?
Yeah, I think especially in the church. I think it's a little bit different outside the church, even if you're Christians on online dating and stuff, but specifically like in a small group or a Bible study, like there's a lot at stake. So, you know, you're in a friend group, you're close with these friends. You don't want to mess things up. I would assume, I grew up in the church, and I've seen that a lot, where there's frustration from women of like, why aren't guys asking girls out? The girls are so great in this group, and the guys might be interested, but they don't want to like mess anything up, you know?
Well, so before I was 25, I was just dating whoever at my Christian college or whatever, just because we were dating. But I wasn't. I mean, like if we got married, whatever. But like when I tried to get my act together, I decided I'm not asking anybody out anymore unless I see it. But like that's somebody I would marry. So I understand that, but I had matured at that point. So is that kind of an older guy thing?
No, sorry, I'm not saying like just ask whoever you want out. I'm saying like think about it for sure.
Right.
And don't just ask your girl out to have a good time. Like ask her out if you're interested in pursuing her and marrying her. 100%. So same. I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, so that's the difference of like secular dating right now,
Yeah.
because I think, I have a statistic here, but it was a high percentage. It was more than 50% of most guys are just looking for like quick fun and the casual hookup. Like that's what all they want. And so obviously we're trying to balance that. What are some other things you're looking for? So we saw pursuit and doing it well.
A man, it's his responsibility to have a sense of direction, and for him to for him to know that about himself, what he wants, what he's going for, and to be prepared, and then take the initiative. So I think initiative, if I could pick one word, is take initiative.
Yeah, well, you also use a big word, responsibility, which is, so this is all countercultural. Words like, responsibility for one. I don't know if initiative, because guys are taking a lot of initiative. And so, go
And
jump
what
in.
I'm hearing is that you want them to know themselves, right? Because direction, and if they don't know who they are, that's exactly what they attract, just anything. So when you know your values, then you can go for that. But if you don't know what you stand for, that's what you're gonna get. You're just gonna get anything. And that's what you see in the secular world. People just going after anything, and then there's no patience whatsoever. And so they just rapid fire through people. And it's hard to watch. Another thing is I see, why do they go for like a long dinner? Why don't you do like a 15, 20-minute coffee, just like a discovery period, right? Like, why would you go on a first date dinner for 2 hours? What if you don't like each other?
Oh my gosh. So this is so key. So this is just for the guys listening. I first of all, I only asked out girls who I thought she would say yes. So maybe I was just, I waited, but I never had anyone say no that I asked out, except for one girl that was moving to Georgia, and she said, I'm moving to Georgia. And the reason is, and I think, because it wasn't like I had tons of game. It was like when I asked him out, I said, hey, my name's so-and-so, we've, met or whatever the reason was. And I'd say, can I take you out for some coffee? Like 3 p.m, daylight. There's no
Exactly.
like I'm dropping you off at your house. There's no meet me there. I'll meet you at the coffee place. We'll have coffee. And this was when coffee was huge in the 90s. So coffee was such a 90s thing. And we would just go to coffee. It was so easy because, dude, showing up to the front door after dark, dropping them off in the car, it's so
High pressure.
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 Yeah, I'm a chill. Like, I don't even count surfing as a date, but I'll count it as a date if you say it's a date. Like, I don't really care if we go to dinner every night. Like, we can take a walk. We're walking fans here.
Yeah,
I love a good walk.
Like, it doesn't have to be this dramatic thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is a level of, I think making a point to show that you also are like serious about continuing and like pulling out the stops, I think is like
Right,
really
that
impressive. Like it's
intentionality.
nice,
Yeah, but 100 red roses on the first date.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, that's red flag. Red roses, red flag.
It's with time, With
Yeah.
time,
Yes,
if you
time.
like each other, then the dinner can come. But I just don't get like a full-on day trip to Orange County Aquarium. I'm just
Right?
amazed by what people do on their first date.
Notice I seem to attract some people, I have attracted people that have been extreme like that, but I think some of that is they have very strong romantic expectations. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so the more, these other things are more, moderate and reasonable ways to meet somebody, but some men go into it with that, that game, basically.
Yeah. Eden, would pace, is it a man's responsibility, and I like that word because I totally believe in men's responsibility and roles. Is it a man's responsibility to set the pace, or is it like running partners, you set it together in the dating, or what did you find?
I think Devin and I, my husband, were actually talking about this a couple days ago, what we would have done differently in our dating, and I think
But you started dating when you were like 17, 16.
Yeah, like 14, 15.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. But if we had to do it over again, it would definitely be a lot more guarding our hearts. And I think for a man, we as women, we want to make things work. We want to, always take that extra step. And it is in my opinion, it is his responsibility to put everything on the table. Like, these are off limits. We're not doing these things. We're not going, if it's like boundaries, we're not going out to dinner late at night. I'm not dropping you off at the car. We're not hanging out in your apartment alone.
Right.
We really need to guard our hearts in this area because I don't want to, you're never going to regret not going far. You're always going to regret going too far. So I think it's up to the man to really put that out there first of guarding heart. And I think as women, we should be on guard of that as well. But it's always going to feel better if the man just comes up to you and says, these are my intentions with you. I'm never going to go past this boundary with you. And it puts us at ease.
Right.
And we can tell right off the bat what type of intentions you have.
But I also feel that as a woman, we set the tone too.
Yeah.
It might be a pace and
For sure.
tone, and I mean, it's a big world out there. There's temptation on both sides,
Oh,
and
definitely.
based off of how we behave, what we allow, it can spiral in a lot of different directions. And as Christian women, if we want a healthy and holy relationship, we have to take responsibility to also watch what we allow too. And I don't know, that's amazing. That's wonderful that your husband is like that. But oftentimes, as women, we have to. I know I have to put my boundaries up there up front.
Yeah.
And to me, that I would maybe in the last 7 years, I've really been living the Christian life and dating and all of that. Before, I didn't put that out there like that, but it just saves so much stress when you just put it out there like that, and just be for real about it. And then just the nonsense will kind of drop away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think typically women are putting up the guardrails, typically.
See, I've been in this line of work for a very long time and seen a lot of relationships. And what I have found many times is when the man sets the line that and we just went right into the physical because I think there's other pacing that's even as important. Yeah, heart pacing and that. But let me just finish on this one point of the physical. I have found so many times that the woman has become the aggressor in the relationship. And a lot of time that's just validation. You find out, I was reading all the statistics about the swiping and everything. So when and the reason, it says the number one reason that women are on like these dating apps is because of the validation it gives them. Like, I guess you get a like or every time they swipe or whatever. There's some, I'm not on one. I wanted to set up like a fake account, but I didn't want to you get caught setting up some weird fake account. They were like, why are you doing that? It was for a podcast, I promise.
Pastor Adams
Yeah,
on
right. So I'm
Hinge.
trying to like research it behind the scenes. Like, why is Pastor Adam on Grindr? That's so weird. Just playing. But I just found out that like I had so many times where like all of a sudden the woman who'd wanted that up front, when the guy set the tone, the woman became the aggressor. Probably seen it 7 to 10 times in people that were like engaged and dating, and I was counseling through them. I mean, a lot. And so that pace, there's this validation thing with women. I mean, I preached about that yesterday. What's that all about? Like in regard to I don't know, it's kind of getting off topic, but.
Validation about?
Guys aren't looking to be validated.
Yeah, I think a big part for me, at least, or what I've seen with a lot of my girlfriends, it kind of stems from your self-worth and like where is that? So, I think one thing that you touched on of like know who you are, that's huge. I think before dating, like I've dated when I was still like figuring out who I was, and they never worked out.
And that's what you get.
Yes, exactly. Because you attract someone who's like figuring out who they are, and then they don't know the pace to set, and the whole thing is just all over the place. But for sure, like as a Christian woman, like my worth is in the Lord, and like who He says I am. I've known that my whole life, but I haven't like owned that probably until like 6 years ago, and I really was like, okay, who am I? Who does Christ say that I am versus who does this man say that I am? And so in dating, then it became like there's less pressure when I know who I am in Christ's eyes versus trying to find that validation in a man's eyes.
Right.
So.
You said, and jump in at any time, India, because I know you have great stuff. This word initiate, when it comes to, I think one of the roles of men is to initiate. I think women and men initiate, but I think it's definitely, if there is not initiation in a relationship, I will always blame the man. I don't know why. I'll personally I don't hold women to the same standard of initiation as I hold men to. Because I think you guys use that word. I think it's true. Initiating prayer, initiating the pacing, initiating the guarding of the heart, initiating the protection. Not that women shouldn't, but if they didn't, I'm not going to hold them to the same standard. When it comes to initiating a date, how many of you would ask a man out?
Never. I wouldn't.
No?
I mean, I have, like, I'm not ashamed to say that, but I think that the Lord has definitely shown me that I would prefer to be asked out at this point in my life. Like, before, I think I was okay with it, and it's funny that you say like pace, because I think that this is me personally with the pace thing, is like you have to be careful not to try to manipulate a situation to like move along a certain path. It's like you really have to consider the other person where they're at, where their heart's at the entire time, and sometimes that means tabling it and waiting and continuing to like explore even friendship options. But preferably I would not like to be asking out guys. So yeah.
Is that true? That's true for all of you?
But
Andrea?
I mean, I haven't dated in years, but I was divorced, so I did have a dating period then, and it was so foreign to me. It was kind of like Pastor Adam said, the last time I dated before I was divorced, it was 95, so I It's
And
2011.
when did you start dating again? What year was
So
it?
2012, I started dating, and I had no clue. I was asking people, what are the rules? Because I don't like this. Because what would happen is I would have, I would go out with someone, and then I would see them on Facebook, and I was like, wait a second. It was so confusing to me. I'm like, back in the 90s, we didn't know what they were doing.
Right,
And
he's like wine tasting with some other woman.
I do not like this. I
In
do not
Sonoma
like this at
County.
all. So I was fumbling my way through it, and I made a lot of mistakes until, like I said, and this is the quote that I love to say to women and men who are dating: you do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. And until I got really solid on
Dang,
who I
that's
was,
truth right there.
then I attracted my husband, actually. But before that, I was attracting a reflection of myself, and I was broken.
Or your greatest needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, not sure you want to. Yeah, I'm not sure you want to attract your needs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Interesting. Like, so for me, a woman asking me out would just be a non-starter. We'd be done at that point. It just would. It doesn't mean. And look, I looked at. There's nothing in the Bible. There's no.
Right.
There's no sin. It's just the way you do things. It's like how you run a church. There's different ways to do it, and there's none that's right or wrong. What I knew is women needed to know, like, I knew every woman in the room who was in my realm of like age and interest. Like, I knew there was no one got by me. I knew who everyone was. And if I wanted to ask you out, I was going to ask you out and take the initiative to do it. Now, one of the things, now some cues would be all right. I don't mind some cues, like, oh, how you doing? Like, oh, I like your shirt. It looks nice. Oh, well, she likes me. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, that helps, you know, because there's some, you know, women you see and you're just like, out of my league. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? If they give you a cue that, like, I like your character, you might be ugly like I am, or whatever, but I like your character, so maybe I'll give you, a chance to do whatever. But so I think the cues are important, but it is a dance, and that's part of the romance, right? I want to use that word romance. What does that mean?
I love it. I love it.
What does it mean? You love what?
Man, I just think there's just such beauty in just showing someone that you care for them. That's kind of what it means to me. Yeah. It can be like the smallest thing. You know, I don't immediately think 100 roses at my doorstep when I think romance.
People totally misunderstand romance.
Right. Yeah, and that can be like potentially maybe there's a time that happens, but yeah, I think the smallest things, just showing someone that you care. And
I think we are losing courtship. Like,
Oh,
in
for
today's, there's
sure.
no, it's just fast.
Courtship?
And
What's
no one
that?
has any patience, and you don't get to enjoy the whole courtship.
Even like the kinks of dating and like it's not all butterflies all the time. It's a lot of communication and working through challenges and communicating well and explaining how you feel during the process too. It's hard.
Yeah. Well, attraction, I think attraction's totally overrated. Like, now where it's like, you know, who you're attracted to and how you feel in the moment. And it's only in the luxury of Western society that we have the ability to marry who we're attracted to. It was all utility and can you birth some children? Can I provide you children? Can we survive the plague? And all the, you know what I mean? Like, you were just trying to find somebody that we could work it out together so that civilization can move on. One of the statistics I saw was that, the lack of actual dating that happens with all this swiping people left and right, and basically dehumanizing people is one of the things that it said is ruining courtship, just because people are being even more, what's the word? Not just dehumanized, but objectified. But it isn't objectified like it used to be when I was at a bar, when I was still drinking. You know what I mean? Like, you look at, one woman or your friends, you think, because how she, looked, and you're with your friend. But it's just mass going through just a face. You know what I mean? You never spoke to them. There was no interaction. So, yeah. But that romance is interesting. What is romance? Asha, like, what would a romance be to you?
To me, what it is, it's like an intimate moment of connection with the person. And I mean, it can be on all the different aspects of you, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, that it, you know, or different parts of that. That's, to me, what it feels like, what it is to me. It's experience.
That's good. I think for me, when I think of romance, it can be really little or really big. Like my husband gets me iced coffee after work. Whenever he calls to check in on me about how my day is he goes out of his way to do it. So for me, that's just so sweet when someone takes just a step out of their day instead of coming straight home. Or it could be something as simple as, you know, I want to go for a walk. Do you want to take, you know, our daughter and our dog on a walk together? And for me, that's romance. It's just those little simplicities in life that I never saw growing up. So to experience that, I feel so special.
Yeah, you know what? I think more dudes should care, you know, as opposed to that big date. I'm going to get a helicopter. We're going to go to Malibu for the weekend, you know, for the Saturday. It totally sounds fun. It totally sounds fun, and there are moments for that. But I think we try to, like, it's like The Bachelor.
Yeah.
You know, it's so unrealistic. The Bachelor should just have people play Scrabble. You know what I mean? Like, take a road trip and play Scrabble. And that was what I was looking for when my friend got married and he had this wife, and I saw him playing Scrabble together, and I'm like, that's what I want. And it was funny because when I met Carrie, it was all different reasons why I wanted to date her. I had this list, and the list was, I did it with my friend, it was like 10 things to rate a woman, but there was nothing physical. It was like, could you play Scrabble with them? Was actually one of them. Would you take a road trip with them? Do you like to have conversation with them? It was, you know, stuff like that. And it was funny because there was probably 4 or 5 women. At that point, I made a decision. I'm only gonna date you if I think I can marry you. And after 3 dates, I'm gonna know and I'm gonna cut. Like, I'm gonna cut or keep going, and I'm gonna let you know after 3 dates. Let's continue on. I'm only dating you after. I won't say that on the first date, but on the 3rd date. Look, I think after 3 dates, because before we go on 4, I'm going to have that conversation and just say I don't see it going anywhere. But you know, we ended up we built to this relationship because it's funny, we said I wasn't the most attractive guy to her, and she wasn't the most attractive woman to me. There was other people that we were like, oh, there's more of a physical or something else going on, but there was this. We built it on this friendship thing. It was more Scrabble than it was helicopter rides, you know? But that's built to go ahead.
And what you did was exactly what we've been talking about, is you had these things you wanted. Of course, they weren't all values, but they were like, can she play Scrabble? I did the same thing. And I was like, likes to cook, likes to dance, likes to go out.
That's the second biggest thing on dating apps that women want, is a man who can cook. I read that. I totally read that. A man who could cook. Yeah.
And what's so crazy, though, at the time, I was still trying to figure it out, and I did write one physical thing. I wrote tall. My husband's 6'5", so it was crazy how that worked. I mean, I wrote my list,
He's a
and
massive
then
man.
I got it.
Yeah, he's a stud. Pro rugby player,
Yeah,
international Hall of Fame pro rugby player.
So it's a pretty powerful thing, and so it sounds like you did the same thing.
Yeah. What's the second question?
So the second question is, what is the role of the woman?
To respond.
Yeah.
To respond.
like
Yeah,
it.
I agree. Respond.
Yeah, and you just have your situation and you respond yes or no or maybe so.
Yeah, I think obviously, but like being honest with that. I think especially in dating, we don't want to like hurt a guy's feelings. Or I've seen that a lot with our friend group even, and you have the best intentions, but it's like, just tell the guy no. Like, if you're not interested, tell him no, and you can say that in a kind way.
Right.
And
Otherwise, you're doing him a disservice.
Yeah.
So it's over if in response, because things are different than they were. And so this is going to take me to another question, but I found out that on these dating apps, if you respond yes, or you connect, I don't know how they connect, by like they reach out to you, and you can tell I don't know what I'm talking about. But if you say yeah, there's a 90% chance that they will respond to you. And if a woman, or that a man will reach out, but it's not always exactly true in the opposite. When it came, let me just ask this, in your best year, how many times were you asked out per year?
Best year.
Well, I'm just saying, how many?
It's my best year.
Let's go. No, like I'm just no. What I'm trying to say is I'm not. What I'm trying to ask is like how much do women get asked out? That's what I'm trying to figure out without being swiped.
It depends on your like where you're at in your life. But I've had times where like I was reserved and didn't do anything. I mean,
It has to do with what you're putting off too, doesn't it?
And where you're at, your environment, or if you're out and about. I mean, I've had years where it was in the double digits, and I have years it was in the single digits. You know, so it depends on like where you're at in life. If you're like more reserved and you're staying home and like you know, like
Okay.
depends on what you're doing. If you're like out and about and social, you're gonna get asked out all the time.
What was that, Rebecca?
Asked out all
I
the
stay
time.
at home, girl.
I think it's asked out every time she steps out of the house.
I'm
Asked
fine.
out like everywhere
Asked
she
out.
goes.
I mean, do you count a DM at 10 p.m. as?
A DM?
Yeah, I mean,
We delete those.
If I get a DM, that's a yellow flag for me.
that should be a red flag
That's
for
a
you.
red
Oh,
flag,
yeah.
yeah. They had a different name. Well, I won't even say what it was. There was a different name for that. It had something to do with a call. It was some kind of call.
I think it's still the same.
Yeah, we know about it.
I think it was a booty call.
So you're asking us.
So
Dude,
I
that was
haven't,
called.
I haven't been on dating apps for like 5 years, I think. But when I was, and I'm not reserved, like I'm all like
You were one of
being
go ahead.
nice to all these people or whatever. But yeah, like I'd go on like tons of dates because I'd be like, yeah, why not? Like you don't know like how it's gonna go. It might be great. And
Right. So 78%
Yeah.
of people on dating apps are men. Are men. 21.9% are women.
I thought it would have been opposite.
No. Only on, is it called Bumble? Is that the one where the woman's in charge?
Yeah, so she
Bumble, it's a little higher on Bumble, like 10 or 15% higher, where they get to make the first, and that makes sense because that doesn't really seem safe to me. So there was a stigma, right? There were in the 90s. There was if you were dating online, you're a loser. Like in the 90s.
I never dated online.
Yeah, I mean, though the world's changed. Like that isn't a
it
stigma
totally
anymore.
changed.
I haven't done it.
Okay, but you're.
Loser, but then I realized everyone's doing it. You're a loser if you're not doing it.
I'm not doing
now
it.
it's
Yeah, I
completely
just
different.
figured, why do I need to do that? You just need to have a little game, you know what I mean? Like, know how to ask a woman out. It's not that hard, you know? Like, why do you need an app?
Dating apps are bad at all. Like I have a
No.
lot of friends who have found
It's just
that
an
there's-
algorithm.
Yes, found their spouses. For me, I noticed that typically when I was on the apps, I wasn't fully trusting in the Lord to provide me a husband or a boyfriend. I was striving, and it was like, okay, I'm going to use this app to like make it happen and swipe. It was more of a control.
You
like,
could say that about makeup.
What?
You could say that about makeup or anything,
Oh,
couldn't you?
yeah, for sure.
But that's real. I mean,
Yeah.
thanks for being honest. Like, I mean, that's very honest to say that.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and I
that-
agree with. I can connect with
Yeah.
you in that.
Why is that? Why is that? So that didn't connect with me as much because I feel like you can strive anytime. Like you can show up and just be, the word was desperate back in the day, you know what I'm saying? So how I guess I kind of lost my point, so you were saying that.
Yeah. Does that feel like control?
Yeah, I guess that's true. So dating app, like, would you use dating app?
Girl, you were 14.
Let's say you were still single.
If I was still single, it's like been a long time. So
You're like 26, right?
28.
28, yeah. And you talk like you're 50. Old soul.
I don't know if I would. I would be too scared.
It's scary, dude. There's no way I would be on that.
I'm not scared of something bad happening to me, but just scared of the rejection and getting ghosted. I think I would be too scared of that.
According to the statistics, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It happens to a lot of people I know.
Yeah.
Really? Well, maybe afterwards it happens, but like you get
Well,
that
that's
first
even
date.
worse. It's like you get the first
Yeah.
date, and then all of a sudden they don't exist anymore. That would be
Yeah.
too hard for me to take. I would rather go on a date with someone that got referred to me or
Referred.
that I could see up close in person.
Matchmaker.
like
I
that.
get it.
Yeah.
So she asked about the roles. What are the other roles?
The rules?
Roles.
Oh, roles.
What did we say? Respond.
You said respond.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you got, Becca?
What do I got?
But even respond negatively, like.
Oh,
just
yeah.
hang out
Honestly.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
I would say, like, relating it back to the pace
Yeah.
is not, this is, I think, key for maybe women, is not trying to move a relationship in the direction that you desire.
Yeah.
but keeping in mind that the person that you're dating has their own heart and is trying to hear from the Lord too. So I think allowing the pace to be set by him, you know, it's like, I think sometimes as ladies, we feel as though, okay, if he's not going to do it, then I'm going to do it, and I'm going to fill that space, whether it's like, you know, small things in the pursuit, but taking a backseat and allowing him even time to make that decision, I think is something that we should be better at.
India, how important is pacing once you're married? Because you don't want to lose, like, pacing's important. I find that I run too fast for my wife, you know what I mean?
Give me an example.
I think we'll be out on, you know, date night, and as opposed to slowing down at dinner, I'll just not be aware of where she's at, not pacing her heart, just talking about me, that, or, you know, singular focus on date night, you know what I mean, that isn't having dinner, you know what I mean, and just not being, I think that pacing spiritually, I don't know, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
kinda
I
what
think
I'm-
it's super important. I'm trying to come up with an example myself. I have a husband that is, if you know anything about personalities, he's very like slow to speak, and so I'm a little more. I'm more
Peppy.
Yeah, I'm like, it's an I disc is what I am, and so I talk a lot, and he processes, and so sometimes I have to match his level because we're different. We're
Absolutely.
different, you know. And
The peppy person, like myself, is always seen as the most annoying one. The one who's chill. I don't know about you, but like my wife's super chill, and I'm
So
always,
so
can
is
you
mine.
just stop talking? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
no.
He's like, wait, I get one thing at a time. You know.
Yeah.
Like,
But maybe peppy should be
I'm a man.
validated
He goes. He
more.
always says, "I'm a man. I can't multitask."
Yeah.
But, yeah. So
Okay.
pacing is super important.
Any other role? Like, what's the role? And we're talking about dating. I guess we'll talk about marriage on a different day, but.
I think maybe not a role, but a responsibility is probably of both, is to make sure that you're keeping your values in check. Because I think you can waste a lot of time, each other's time, when you're trying to change someone to have them have the same values as you. And that can become really frustrating. Instead of just, this person is this way and I'm this way, and it doesn't make them a bad person, but we just don't connect in that way. And I think we as women at times try to either change ourselves with what we actually want, or try to change the man to be who we want them to be, rather than just cutting the losses.
Definitely.
Moving forward.
I have a good story, actually, to this, what you're exactly saying. So it's a personal story, but my husband doesn't mind sharing because he says it all the time. So when we were just started to date, we'd been dating a few months, and he said, he's in sales, so he's like, is there anything that would prevent you from taking this to the next level, meaning marriage? And I was like, yeah. He was like, what is it? He goes, and I said, well, I always told myself after my first marriage that I would marry a Christian, and I would never compromise that, and you're not a Christian. I said, but you can't do it for me. So that is my concern. And so he's like,
Prisoner's dilemma, they call
he
that.
was like, oh, okay. Well, let me see what I can, so he starts thinking, and he starts going to Bible study. He ended up going to this intense Bible study where they prayed for an hour straight. I was like, maybe don't start with that one.
Right.
And so then slowly, but I said, really, you cannot do this for me. You cannot. And he didn't do it for me. He started exploring, but he was not a Christian when we were dating.
Wow. Would you guys date a non-Christian?
I have.
Missionary dating?
It's horrible.
Oh, yeah?
Well-
What if they're on the trail?
He was a seeker, is what I told myself.
Yeah,
He was a
what if-
On the trail. I think everyone's on the trail anyways.
Right.
I mean, there's
Trail they are.
like, I think the Holy Spirit, I'm not even going to go there, but yeah, I know that I knew God was telling me no from the start, and I
Right.
compromised, and
That part.
like I
Always
had
knew.
people tell me
Always
that
knew.
it was foolish of me to be spending time with this person. I like brought him around my community, and they were like, nah. So
Right.
yeah, it just,
Wow.
And I want a relationship where the person's praying through it too. That's like a zero compromise thing, you know? But the Lord's pruned a lot in my life since.
Yeah, and I've seen it up close and personal too, having an unevenly yoked marriage, and it's a lot of pain because you, maybe as the wife, you want your spouse to, you know, be this man that leads the family in a godly way, and then they're just not that, or vice versa. You know, you as a husband, you want your wife to help raise the children and help bring them to the faith, you know, and they don't want any part of that. But I think another piece is they can't just say they're Christian. They have to actually live it out.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of claimers, but not a lot of walkers. So
Yeah, I think that's something that's really hard with online dating is that, like, I don't know what the percentage is, but it feels like 90% of Americans say, like, I'm a Christian. Like, they'll click the box Christian. And I literally stopped saying, like, on my list of things, like, that I want a Christian man. I'm like, no, I need a man that, like, loves Jesus Christ and has a relationship with him first and foremost. And it's not like, obviously they're going to say I am a Christian, but it's so much more than just, like, checking that box.
Why are women waiting so long? The average age to get married now for a woman is 31 point whatever, and in Europe it's 34. That's one of the reasons the birth rate is declining below what we can sustain as a Western civilization. Is it empowerment? Like, why are they waiting so long?
I mean, I know, like, for me and other people I know, you have things on your agenda that you want to do, and you're focused on yourself and achieving your goals. I mean, that's just, I know for me, I had these goals I wanted to achieve, and that's what I was focused on.
Yeah, so there is that. That's the thing with women, right? It's that balance between goals and then you have some kids.
Upside down.
I mean,
Yeah. I think there is a culture, and this is, I think, amongst even believers too, of wanting to be okay with not needing that in our lives. And, like, for whatever, I mean, I feel like I played into that for so long too, is like I was fooling myself that I didn't want to get married, and I was, you know, I had this desire in my heart and still do, but I can still play the game of, like, I'm not gonna date for a while and continue to focus on myself. And I think there are times for that, seasons for that, for sure. I don't know why women are older and getting married now. I think that there's a combination of things, but I think personally I'm at the point where I'm just waiting on the Lord.
by 2030, 52% of all women of birthing age will be single. Women are becoming more and more single, and they say that's going to go higher and higher up to like 50, 60, 70, where the majority of women are single. Why are women single?
I think it kind of makes sense for, like, our culture and our society, and how I think it's amazing that as women now we have more opportunities than being a wife and a mother. I think that's great, but I think, like, for me, I've always known this since I was a kid. I want to be a wife, and I want to be a mother, and I'd love to be a stay-at-home mom. And it was hard for me, I think, in high school and college, when I started kind of, like, becoming more of an adult, to be like, wait, can I own that as part of my identity, or is that bad? Like, I felt like it was almost bad to say that I want to be a mom. Yeah. And I had to work through that and be like, no, like, that's what I want. So that's okay. But then even, you know, I'm 35, and as an adult in my career, that was also a challenge of, like, how do I, like, I love what I do, and I love the career that I have, and how do I pursue that and hold that, but also not hold that so tightly that, that if I do have the opportunity to have children, that I feel like it's just hard. Like, how do you hold both of those things, you know? So that's a little bit of, like, my, like, where I'm at right now with that. But
yeah, I think there's also there's this lie that self-fulfillment and achieving your goals
True.
should be number one above creating a family and familial goals and legacy.
Absolutely.
It's looked at as like, accomplish everything you want by 34, and then you can accomplish the family stuff.
Yeah.
When in actuality, a good piece of advice that my mom gave me, she's like, Eden, you can accomplish whatever you want, just not everything right now. And I really took that and ran with it of like, hey, I can take this time to raise up my kids and be present. And if I want to have a second career from 40 to 65, I can do that as well. And not look at it as you have to be this incredible career woman by 35. And
See, we sacrificed a ton so we could have one parent, my wife, be at home. And then now she's 48, but she's gone back to school. She's doing this career. And she does feel a loss. Like there's a cost to that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
for sure.
But like you said, the individual is the most important thing. And it's more important than the clan or the family or the tribe, and I don't know. I just feel like those things are more important. I'm not a fan of the mandatory 2-income family. Like World War II kind of destroyed that. Like women went into the workforce, more money was coming in, and they're like, we can charge more for everything. So then everything goes up, and now you, like man or woman, we can't get back.
Right.
How do we get back where someone can stay home with kids? Like someone needs to be home with the kids, and someone's going to have to sacrifice. And I'm more than willing to do it. But yeah, my biggest goal in my life is to love God, love my wife, love my family, and then all the other careers I don't even care about anymore.
Great point, because I think something as women we're also need to be very clear with is our expectations for when we go into marriage.
Yeah.
My aunt told me something one time where she said, when I was dating, I told whoever I was dating, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. So if you have an issue with that, then we're not going to be a great pair, because that's my heart's desire and I want that. So I think that's important as women too, to be very upfront with our hearts.
And I like what you said, excuse me. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I do not regret it at all. And I started a career in my 40s, and I am so happy that I stayed home with the kids. So you can start late. You don't have to start traditionally, It's such a drive to be successful, and we validate our whole,
Boss woman.
exactly.
Sense of just how my upbringing, like I came from a situation where there was just no money and there was just fear of lack, and everything was like, I was just trained, you can't depend on anybody but yourself.
Right.
And I just was wired like that for my
Right.
family. And
Right.
my sister's the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's role versus identity.
But you're the ultimate, Asha's the ultimate boss lady. I mean, like you were working for huge corporations, running everything, good salary, the whole thing. What was that? I mean, you did that. Okay, so how'd it go?
First
You're
of all,
still
the
doing
Lord
it.
is so good that the Lord will find a way to bless whatever you're doing beyond what you're capable of, because not only did I do that, He went and He met me and allowed me to stay at home with my little toddler while I'm doing that.
That was awesome.
Bringing my family around
That's
me.
amazing.
Yeah.
So He went and He said, you know what, that's great, but let me just go and just give you more margin so you can do it my way.
Right.
So we're going to land this plane here in a second. I want to talk about provision, because I feel that it's the man's responsibility to provide. And my daughters and I are having a lot of conversations about this, and I said that's not at the exclusion of a woman providing, but I think that if a woman should expect a man to be able to provide. Now, I said, my one daughter, she has doing modeling. I said, if you got married and you're making like $3 million a year and your husband's making whatever, he just needs to make enough to provide. Like, so, okay, you're making the gravy. Okay, so now you're gonna get to do all this stuff because you're doing that, but you shouldn't have to do that. I believe that the role of a man is to create, first of all, to see a woman, to validate a woman, and to give her space and margin to do whatever she wants with no responsibility on her part to have to provide to make it happen. Now, there's a lot of responsibilities for women. She's got to provide, she's got to be there, she's got to, work alongside, side by side. Both partners, I want to support what she's doing. But what do you think about that idea of like women shouldn't have to, like men should have a provision. That doesn't mean that they can't, but you know, I got to be able to provide.
Well, I think what it shows is that men also have that core desire and core need. Like, they want to do that. They want to take care of their family. Especially
Absolutely.
men of God, that's
And
their
protect.
hope. And while you're dating, to look for that, but also in your marriage to see that and to encourage that, because that is a good thing. And you don't want to downgrade someone and make a man feel like that's a bad thing, that he wants to be able to do that for you in the marriage field. But I think providing also goes a bit layer deeper than just salary range.
Yeah.
And providing protection for your family. But for example, right now, I make a lot more money than my husband does, but that's because he is going for a dream to be a business owner. And so right now,
He left his
although
career where he was making,
he was making a lot more than me to now make a lot less, but his goal is to provide for our family so that I don't have to work if I don't want to.
Well, so I would say this, we're free in Christ. So I'm not sure the roles, if you're free indeed. So I think the roles are a little bit more up for grabs, but that doesn't mean the design has changed. And so I think there's some design issues in men and women. And so I guess what I'm trying to do is I feel really responsible to provide a covering. You know, just a covering. So she feels like I'm free. I want to give her room and margin and go explore, run and chase your dreams, but don't feel like, you know, you've got to cover me. But she does, you know, with love and all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's seasons too, like, you know, I'm not married, but seeing my parents go through different seasons of where my dad was unable to be the like financial provider.
Yeah,
it's stuff
right.
like that.
And I don't want to have guilt with guys either, for sure.
So, but I love what you said about that. Overall, the covering and like making decisions to protect and making decisions to move the family forward or in a good way. You know,
Well,
so
willing to do it. I mean, look, it might not work out. He might not be able to provide. He might not have the talent or the gifts or whatever. But it's the willingness. You know what I'm saying? So it's not deadbeat, you know, or gamer, you know.
I think that's something. I feel like I heard it on like a podcast or maybe like a dating book. Or, I think a lot of times when you're dating, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy has so much passion and dreams, and that sounds fun. But it's like, well, what's actually fun is like his work ethic. Like what's actually going to be
duty.
Yeah, you know, like how that's a huge thing for me that I look for is like, what's his work ethic like? Where's his heart in like wanting to provide for the people that he like loves and cares for? And you know,
The thing that hits different with you ladies is none of you feel desperate to be validated anymore. Maybe you never were, but I don't sense that. You know what I mean? It was so obvious when I would meet girls and I'd be like, she had a bad dad. She's an easy target if someone wants to use her as a target. It was obvious to me. I just knew she had a bad dad. You have another question?
No.
I'm gonna finish
I
with the last
agree
one.
with
This is
what
the
you're
last
saying.
thing. We're gonna close. We got 3 minutes on this. What's the biggest like turn offs? It'll shut you down. Like for dudes, like what would you tell guys like don't do this? Besides being like creepy.
Just like women can be desperate, men can be desperate too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
That'll preach.
Bad boundaries.
One thing.
Yeah,
Just one thing.
Just one.
Well, what's the thing that like is it bragging? Is it arrogance? Is it
all those things?
I mean,
well, yeah.
it's like
Arrogance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like that?
Boundaries for me are huge. Like if you're not gonna steward my boundaries well, then I'm tapped out like already, you know?
Right.
I'm done. So that one is huge for me. And then, I think pride can kill a lot of things, including a relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd say on like a really simple, basic, if you're just going on a date, how they treat other people. I think that's a huge thing. Just even
Absolutely.
like
Watch how they treat other people.
Right. You know, you kind of
how they treat the server at the restaurant.
Yeah. You
Exactly.
and And that's more when you don't know them, like when you're not like friends with someone and you're like
Right.
going on a date and stuff. But yeah, I think a huge like immediate no is when they're not firmly rooted in Christ, and I can just
You
see
feel
it,
that,
You feel
and you're
it.
like, okay, like, yeah.
Give me two quick hitters, and then we're gonna shut
I'm
it
gonna
up.
concur on hers is being able to respect and honor, to honor as a woman, the boundaries.
Yeah, just humility.
Yeah.
Humility goes a long way.
I want to end with this story. My wife went away. We have this thing where it's really cool where we'll probably take 3 days a month each where we just go be by ourselves. We have that space. She's happy with it. I'm happy with it. It's just really good for our relationship. So I had my 15-year-old with me all weekend. And on Friday, we're like, hey, let's not just do doom scrolling, on Insta or whatever. Let's plan our weekend. And so she wanted to watch the Lord of the Rings. She never watched it. So we set up in the fellowship hall. We watched it. Then we made dinner. And we went to basketball and shot. We worked out. We did all this fun. We just had a great weekend. And she goes, that was such a fun weekend. She goes, is it weird to think like when I get married, like that's what I want like that? I said, no, this is normal. I said, this is why you have a dad, to show that this is what marriage is, this relationship. And then I said, what happens is once you find a man, you've learned those skills, the boundaries, the fun, the planning, the fighting it out when we get upset with each other, all that stuff. And I said, once you have that, then after the covenant, then you have that sexual component that is reserved for that relationship. But my job is every other element except for that in that relationship to show you that. And I said, and she goes, well, many of my friends don't have that. And I said, well, this is normal.
Yeah.
And she goes, it is? And I'm like, this is normal.
Yeah.
This is what normal is. Even though the world, it's weird now and all messed up, this is normal. And I guess that's so important of like reclaiming what is normal. And I really appreciate you ladies being here in India. Thanks for co-hosting
course,
with me.
thank you.
And I'll have you ladies again for a part 2 at some point. I'm bringing the guys in next. I'm gonna fill the couch in a week or so with the dudes. And before Valentine's Day, we're gonna be putting this out. So thanks a lot.
Nice.
Bless you guys. Peace.
Thanks.